What's going on? Welcome back to 𝗖𝗓𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧 Journey. So today we're going to talk to you about ChargePoint. It's been a while since I've done a ChargePoint video, so I want to go over some of the current data points, what's been coming out associated to the company itself, and with their earnings right around the corner, what analysts are expecting. Before we get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. And with that said, let's get right to it. So on Friday, it did go up 3.49%, which was very impressive. And like I said, even though I haven't done many videos on ChargePoint recently, I have still been watching it, and I got to give it to them. They've been holding their gains very, very well, because based on the technicals, my last video, it was pointing that it was going to trend down significantly. It did go down very low to, I think, $1.20 as far as the low, but since then it has recovered for various different reasons I'm going to touch on in a second. But 8.7 million shares being traded on Friday, 12.1 is the average. You still are getting majority of the volume being done by algorithmic trading, but still the algorithms are being told to buy ChargePoint, causing it to go higher. So that on the flip side is somewhat good. So these are again all the transactions or non-transactions above $100,000 on the secondary market. Dark pool is a little bit more popular, but dark pool is often enough linked to shorting. One thing that I just wanted to point out, on the 17th, there was one very big transaction, and that was for 7.64 million. So dark pool obviously is used by shorts, like I said, but as well larger institutions. So maybe some entity did buy into ChargePoint, and you can kind of see some other big ones. So there was a 1.9 million that was on the 14th. So who knows, maybe some big entity is buying into ChargePoint, and this is how algorithms are being told to buy, because maybe they see some abnormal buying behind the scenes. Again, I'm not really sure, but very interesting stuff. When it comes down to ChargePoint, they recently did submit a definitive 14A. That was yesterday. So that is for their upcoming shareholder meeting, slated for, I'll just zoom in here, July 9th, 2024. Regrettably, if you're wanting to participate in this and you just bought in now, you can't, because you do have to be a holder as of May 17th, 2024 for these three proposals. And in my opinion, I see this as somewhat optimistic, especially considering it did have a low of $1.20, and any stock typically around that $1 range, companies start to think about reverse stock splits. But they didn't even have it as an item to be voted on. So it goes to show that ChargePoint does see more upside, and for instance, for them not to be delinquent or deficient in that aspect. So the three items are just very standard stuff. So for annual meeting purposes, the board of directors compensation, or sorry, the second one is accounting, and then the third one is compensation. So nothing really crazy, rather boring in my opinion. So that recently did come out. Aside from that, for PR purposes, there's a couple interesting ones. So on May 16th and the 22nd, kind of goes to show that they are trying their very best to pivot operationally. So on the 16th, that is really good news in my opinion. Kind of goes to show that they're trying to target the trucking industry. So even though technically, if you look at a lot of the other EVs and their results, like demand is going up. And that's one thing that ChargePoint has used as more of a negative in the past, saying that demand is actually going down. So hopefully for their upcoming earnings, they'll kind of talk on consumer demand going up. So hopefully that will help and maybe calm the market somewhat as well, causing it to get possibly above $2. But I see this as very good news. This one still good. I don't think there's going to be much repercussions to ChargePoint. If anything, it might just be free money, but ChargePoint and Airbnb partner to enable seamless EV charging. So kind of interesting, random partnership, but still, like I said, no real harm to ChargePoint, so it's a win-win as far as I'm concerned. So other than that, it's been kind of quiet. They did also have their announcement on May the 14th about their earnings, slated for June the 5th. And so when it comes down to that, I will give you a quick overview of some things that you need to know, starting off with this. So these are some analyst expectations for earnings per share, revenue, and whatever else. And based on right now, there are 7 estimates for their earnings per share. Again, consensus is -13 cents. So similarly, that's exactly what happened the last quarter, but they beat on their earnings per share, which was kind of out of left field, a very positive surprise. So this time around, I do feel logically that it might actually be on their earnings per share once again. I think in ChargePoint's case, though, it's a unique circumstance. I think the market might often enough overlook their earnings per share and revenue, rather just focus on their future guidance. So I think that might be the kind of the basis of their upcoming earnings, again on June the 5th or whatever it was. But quickly giving you an overview of their revenue, you can kind of see there's about 14 estimates, consensus of 105.79 million. Not really much change. It did go down quite a lot from 3 months ago, but analysts are expecting ChargePoint to obviously do bigger and better things in the foreseeable future throughout 2024 and 2025, just based on their estimates. Similarly, looking on their earnings per share, you can kind of see that possibly first half of 2025, this is where analysts are truly anticipating ChargePoint to be profitable. Again, given the status quo and everything, and assuming something dramatic doesn't happen operationally. So pretty interesting stuff for this. And while I'm actually on Interactive Brokers, I'll give you a quick overview of the Elliott Wave technicals. So it does have a pivot point of $1.62. So for as long as ChargePoint is above that, then this is where it is anticipated to get between that 230 and 250. So the technicals are looking somewhat optimistic. And while I'm actually here as well, so the latest Morningstar report does show the fair market value being $2.50. So that's just based on their assets. So definitely ChargePoint is seen as a pretty good value play, somewhat. Take that with a grain of salt, very volatile and whatever else, but let me know your thoughts on that. And then as well, while I'm here, no recent analyst rating. Last one was done last month. Sell rating, downgrade, $1.50, Goldman Sachs. Marku has a 61% success rating. On a side note, if you're looking for all of this information to be completely free, take a look at Interactive Brokers, link in the description below and also the comments. Highly recommend you guys taking advantage of that. But moving on from here, let's go over some of the current data points. Shorts. Friday, shorts did return about 51,000 shares. 24.89% of the free float is being shorted, and that does work out to be 96.82 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow average is 9.91%. Utilization is 90.18. And just to look on the actual chart itself, get rid of all that crap, you can see that shorts have returned quite a lot. So the all-time high short interest on ChargePoint was roughly 31%, and that was obtained on April 16th, 2024. So it has gone down quite a lot. And hopefully with their earnings right around the corner, it will continue to drop to maybe the low end around 21%. So still very high, but ChargePoint has had a lot of difficulties in the past, so somewhat justified, if that makes sense. Looking at options though, 5,800 in calls, 2,500 in puts. Sentiment wise, about 47% of all the options being done are optimistic, and that was done from Friday, so still evenly divided. Of the call options that were purchased, there's a consensus for it to be above $2 by the end of next week, and encumbering their earnings, it looks like there's a consensus for it to be above 250. So very nice recovery for that. And then looking at puts, it looks like worst case scenario for their upcoming earnings, people are assuming it will be below $1.50, which I don't know. So in my opinion, the risk versus reward is very much in the upside, which is somewhat optimistic. But on the actual chart itself, so with it right now at $1.78, it is resting exactly on this R1. So going into the next several trading days, Monday is a holiday on a side note, but starting on Tuesday, watch for this $1.77 to hold. And then if not, then this is where it could break down a little bit. So $1.49 will be that next strong support. And if that is the case, then the Elliott Wave technicals, as I pointed out, will kind of be broken. So this will insinuate possibly a new 52-week low coming sooner rather than later. Then vice versa, $1.93 and then $2.21 will be that next strong resistance slash target points for ChargePoint. And then moving on the actual chart itself, ChargePoint has been pretty much a option trader's dream. Very, very volatile, but yet kind of trading within a set range. So this 50 and 100-day moving averages. So in reality, kind of good stuff. It did also on Friday bounce off that central Bollinger Band, so overall pretty good thing for that. Stochastic, you do see it at 45, so somewhat neutral. So it's not considered oversold nor overbought. So it's kind of just stuck in limbo, and there isn't really any defined trend, somewhat more of a small bearish deviation right there. But number of retail investors have been as well getting out of ChargePoint. So maybe there's been a influx just in retail is selling out and then institutions are buying. I'm not really sure. And just to quickly go back over to Interactive Brokers, just to give you an overview of the current ownership of ChargePoint. So right now it looks like 214 million is held by institutions, 10.7 by strategic entities, and 198 million by other, which is AKA retail. So retail does make up a good percentage of the float. And yeah, that's pretty high stuff. 46% ultimately is held by retail. So let me know your thoughts on all that. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Give yourself a shout out if you have been buying, if you've been selling, what have you been doing with ChargePoint. And one final thing, take advantage of this promo. Simply sign up for a new account, throw $100 at it, and they do give you 7 fractional shares of the 𝗪𝗧𝗛. So pretty kick-ass deal. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.